My name is Clara. I am 62 years old. Today I live in a very small apartment. It is very quiet here. The only sound I hear is the rain. It taps against my window. I also hear the tick-tock of my old clock. For 40 years I was a teacher. I taught children how to play the cello. I taught them how to find the rhythm. I taught them how to feel the music in their hearts. I was a very good teacher. All the parents in my town trusted me. I thought I knew how to raise a child. I thought I did a great job, but I forgot to teach my own daughter the most important lesson. I loved her more than my own life. I gave her everything. I gave her my time, my energy, and my money. But in the end, she did not want my love. She only wanted the numbers in my bank account. She wanted the bricks of my house. I thought family was the most important thing, but I learned that money speaks much louder than love. This is the story of how my daughter left me, and it is the story of how she finally came back home. My husband passed away a long time ago. My daughter, Sarah, was only 5 years old. It was just the two of us. We lived in a big, old house on a quiet street. It was not a fancy house, but it was full of many happy memories. In the middle of our living room was my best treasure. It was a beautiful, old cello. Sarah grew up watching me play. I remember her small hands. She tried to hold the bow. I remember her laughing when she made a funny sound. She used to look at me with big, bright eyes. She would say, "Mommy, when I grow up, I will buy you a castle. You will never have to work again." Those sweet words kept me going. I worked very hard every day. I taught music lessons from the morning until the night. My fingers were often sore. My back used to hurt. But I never complained once. I wanted Sarah to have the best life. I did not buy new clothes for myself. I saved every penny for her school. Sarah was a very smart girl. She did not want to be a music teacher. She wanted to be a lawyer. She wanted to be very successful. I was so proud of her. I paid for her university. I paid for all her expensive books. She went to the big city to study law. Many years passed by. Sarah graduated and became a famous corporate lawyer. She wore very expensive suits. She drove a fast, shiny car. Then she met a man named Julian. Julian was handsome. He smiled a lot, but his eyes were always cold. He only talked about money like it was a god. They got married. I was happy for them. I thought my job was done. But slowly, Sarah began to change. She visited me less and less. She did not look at the cello anymore. She did not ask if I was feeling okay. She just walked around the house. She looked at the walls and the floor. She whispered to Julian. I heard Julian talk about prime locations. They were not looking at a home. They were looking at a product to sell. I felt a cold wind in my heart, but I ignored it. She was my daughter. One Sunday evening, Sarah and Julian came over for a big dinner. I was so excited to see my daughter. I spent all afternoon in the kitchen. I cooked Sarah's favorite meal, which was roast chicken. I baked apple pie. The whole house smelled like cinnamon and love. I put out my best plates and waited for them. When they arrived, I gave them big smiles, but they did not smile back. They sat at the table, but they did not touch the food. Julian put his fork down with a loud sound. He cleared his throat. His voice was very smooth, like oil on a pan. Clara, he said, we really need to talk about your living situation. I looked at Sarah, hoping she would say something, but she did not look at me. She only looked at the patterns on her plate. What do you mean? I asked them. I felt a little bit scared. This house, Sarah said very quietly. It is just too big for you now, Mom. It is getting very old. She told me the roof needed many repairs. She said the heating was too expensive for one person. It is dangerous for you to be here all by yourself, she whispered. I looked around at my beautiful home. I am fine, I said firmly. I love this house. Your father and I built our whole life within these walls. Julian leaned forward across the table. Clara, you must be realistic, he said. You are getting older every day. What if you fall down the stairs? What if you get sick and no one can hear you? He told me they had found a wonderful place for me to go. It was a very fancy home for senior people. He used the word exclusive many times. That was his favorite word for everything. Sarah told me there would be doctors and nurses there. You will be so safe there, Mom, she said. They showed me a book with pretty pictures. The rooms looked clean, but they did not look like home. They looked like a hotel. Suddenly, Julian stood up from the table. He walked over to my most precious thing, my old cello. He tapped the dark wood with his fingernail. It made a very hollow and sad sound. And this thing, Julian said with a mean look, it takes up half the room. It is just old wood now. He told me it was just clutter and I should get rid of it. I felt like my heart had stopped beating. That is not clutter, I whispered. That is my life. That is where Sarah learned to play her first notes. Julian laughed a very short and dry laugh. Memories do not pay the bills, Clara, he said. Sarah stayed completely silent. She did not say one word to defend me or the cello. She did not even look up. That night, after they went away, I sat alone in the dark. I pulled my cello close and played a very sad song. My hands were trembling on the strings as I played. I began to wonder if I really was a burden. Did they truly care about me being safe? Or was Julian right? Was I just an old piece of furniture that was in the way? 2 weeks later, they came back again. They brought many papers for me to look at. They told me I looked very tired. Maybe they were right. Maybe I was too old to take care of a house. The house felt very big and lonely. I went into the kitchen to make some tea for everyone. I wanted to be a good hostess. I put the cups on a tray and started to walk back, but then I heard their voices. They thought I was still in the kitchen. I stood near the door with the tea tray in my hands. I heard their voices clearly. She is going to sign it, Julian. I know she is, Sarah said. Her voice did not sound worried about me. It sounded very excited. She better sign it, Julian replied. His voice was sharp and cold. The market is very hot right now. If we sell this land, we will have enough money. We can put it into the new luxury resort project. The profit will be huge. I felt the tray shake in my hands. But what about the senior home? Sarah asked. Is it really a good place for her? Julian just laughed a mean laugh. It is cheap, Sarah, he said. It is clean enough. Who cares about that? The important thing is getting the money out of this old house. That old cello is just termite food anyway. Once she signs, we sell everything. I stood there completely frozen. It was never about my safety. It was never about my health. It was only about their investment. I was just a transaction to them. I was just a way for them to get more money. My heart felt like it was breaking into pieces. My daughter was selling my home to buy a resort. I looked down at the tea in the cups. It looked dark and very bitter. I did not walk into the room. I went back into the kitchen and poured the tea down the sink. My heart broke that day. But suddenly my mind became very clear. I did not scream and I did not fight them. I realized something very painful. As if I stayed here, they would only hate me. They would just wait for me to die. I did not want to live like that. The next morning, I walked into the living room. I looked at them and said, I will sign the papers. Sarah's eyes lit up with joy. Really, Mom, that is the best decision. You will be so happy in your new home. Julian smiled a big victory smile. I signed the papers with a steady hand. But I have one condition, I told them. Anything, Clara, Julian said quickly. He grabbed the papers as fast as he could. I looked him right in the eyes. I do not want your senior home. I will find my own place to live, and I am taking my cello with me. Julian rolled his eyes at me. Fine, take the junk, he said. It saves us the money of throwing it away. 2 days later, a big moving truck arrived. I packed my clothes and my favorite books. I watched the movers lift the heavy cello. The cello was the only thing I took. I left all the furniture behind. I even left the curtains I made by hand. Sarah and Julian stood by the front door. They were just waiting for me to give them the keys. The house felt like a stranger now. I moved into my new, small apartment. It was very different from my old home. The walls were thin. I could hear the people next door, but it was a peaceful place. I put my cello in the corner of the living room. Every day I practiced my music. I did not have many students anymore, but I played for the joy of the sound. The neighbors would stop in the hallway to listen. They told me my music made them feel very happy. I felt like I was starting over. I was poor in money, but I was rich in peace. For 6 months, I did not hear from Sarah. I sent her many messages. I called her on her birthday. She never answered her phone. I thought she was too busy with her new luxury resort. I thought she was too happy with her money to remember her mother. I tried not to be sad. I told myself that she was living her dream, but I prayed for her every single night. I prayed that she would find true happiness. I knew that money cannot buy a happy heart. Then everything changed on a cold Tuesday. I was watching the news on my small television. There was a big story about the luxury resort project. The reporter said it was a giant scam. The owners had taken all the investment money. They had run away to another country. Hundreds of people had lost their life savings. My heart sank into my stomach. I knew Sarah and Julian had put everything into that project. They had even used the money from my house. I felt a terrible weight on my chest. I tried to call Sarah, but her phone was disconnected. That night, the rain was pouring down. It was very loud against my small window. Suddenly, I heard a knock at my door. It was a very soft knock. It sounded like someone was afraid to be there. I walked to the door and opened it slowly. There stood Sarah. She did not look like a famous lawyer anymore. Her face was very pale. Her eyes were red from crying. She was wearing a thin jacket that was soaked with water. She looked very small and very lost. She looked at me and her lips started to tremble. "Mom," she whispered. Her voice was very small. "I lost everything. Julian is gone. He took what was left and he moved away. I have no money, I have no home, I have nothing." She started to sob very loudly. She put her face in her hands. I did not say anything about the house. I did not say I told you so. I did not ask her about the money. I just opened my arms wide. She fell into my arms like she was 5 years old again. She cried into my shoulder for a long time. I held her tight. I felt her hot tears on my neck. The daughter who wanted bricks and bank accounts was gone. The girl who needed her mother was back. I led her inside and gave her a warm blanket. I made her a cup of tea. She sat on my small sofa and looked at the cello. "I am so sorry, Mom," she said. "I was so blind. I thought money was everything. I thought Julian loved me, but he only loved the investment." She looked around my tiny apartment. "You were right all along. This is a home because you are here. My big life was just a lie." Sarah moved into my tiny spare room. It was a very tight fit for 2 adults. The apartment felt crowded with her suitcases and her heavy heart, but for the first time in many years, the cold silence was gone. We did not talk about the luxury resort anymore. We did not talk about the money she lost. We did not even mention Julian's name. Instead, we talked about very simple things. We talked about the color of the sky. We talked about what we should cook for lunch. One morning, Sarah went out for a long walk. She came back to the apartment with a real smile on her face. She found a job at a small bakery just 2 blocks away. "It is not a big law office, Mom," she told me with a soft laugh, "but it is honest work and the people are very kind." She wakes up very early in the morning now. She smells like fresh bread and sweet sugar when she comes home. She is very tired at the end of the day, but her eyes are bright and full of life again. She started to help me with my young cello students. She sits on the rug and helps the little children with their hands. She shows them how to hold the bow just right. She is very patient and gentle with every child. One evening, after all the students went home, she looked at the cello. She picked it up and played a single long note. It was a beautiful and very clear sound that filled the room. "I am finally learning how to listen again, Mom," she whispered. I realized that she had finally found the true rhythm of life. It was not found in a fancy office in the city. It was not found in a fast, shiny car. It was right here in this small, warm room. Every Sunday evening, we have a big dinner together. We use the old plates that I managed to save. We talk about our big dreams for the future. We also talk about the big mistakes we made in the past. I learned a very big and important lesson from this journey. I learned that you can teach a child many things, but life is often the very best teacher of all. Life teaches us the hardest lessons when we are not looking. People make mistakes because we are all human. Money can blind even the smartest and strongest people, but love is the only light that shows us the way back home. Families are never perfect. We often hurt the people we love the most. We break promises and we break hearts. But as long as there is a heart that is ready to forgive, there is always a way back. You can sell a house to try and buy a future, but you can never buy back the love and the time that you lost. Thankfully, true love does not cost a single penny. Love is completely free if you are brave enough to ask for it. Sarah is not a rich or famous lawyer anymore. She is just my daughter again. And to me, that is the most important title in the whole world. If you still have your parents, please call them today. Tell them that you love them with all your heart. Do not wait until the big house is empty. Do not wait until the music finally stops. Thank you for listening to my story. May your home always be full of love and music.